Danny Cole lived alone in the Nevada desert. He had been a mechanic for 15 years. His garage sat 20 miles from the nearest town. There was nothing around him but sand, rocks, and old broken machines. He fixed things. That was his job? Old military drones crashed in the desert all the time. Broken water machines. Damaged trucks. If it had wires and metal, Danny could fix it. People came from far away to bring him their problems. He never asked questions. He just worked. Danny liked the quiet. He had no family. No wife, no children. His parents died when he was young. He grew up moving from place to place. The desert was the first home that ever felt real to him. Here, nobody bothered him. Here, he could think, that night started like any other night. Danny was in his workshop. He had a water recycler on his table. The machine was old and full of rust. A farmer from a nearby town needed it fixed by morning. Danny worked under a single bright light. His hands moved with practice. He knew every part of every machine. Then the ground shook. Danny stopped working. He looked up. The tools on his wall rattled. Something had hit the earth hard? Very hard. He walked outside. The night was dark and clear. Stars filled the sky like scattered dust. Danny looked toward the horizon. He saw nothing at first. Then he saw light. A second explosion lit up the sky. Orange and white fire bloomed in the distance. The ground shook again. Danny felt it in his chest. He had seen crashes before. Military tests. Satellite debris. Old space junk falling from orbit. But this was different. This was bigger. Much bigger. Danny went back inside. He grabbed his emergency bag, flashlight, medical kit, tools, water. He loaded everything into his hover truck and drove toward the fire. The crash site was about 8 miles away. Danny drove fast. His truck floated over the sand on old but reliable hover pads. He had built the truck himself from parts he found in the desert. It was ugly, but it worked. As he got closer, he saw the wreckage. Twisted metal spread across the sand. Pieces of something large were scattered everywhere. It was not a satellite. It was not a drone. It was a ship. A real ship. Not from Earth. Danny stopped the truck and got out. He held his flashlight tight. His heart beat fast, but his hands were steady. He walked toward the largest piece of wreckage. That was when he saw them. 2 creatures lay among the broken metal. They were huge. Each one was at least 40 feet long. They had scales that changed color under the light. Purple, silver, blue. They shifted like water. The creatures had wings, long tails, and 4 powerful legs. Their heads were shaped like ancient dragons from old stories. Danny stopped breathing. He had never seen anything like this. He had never imagined anything like this. One of the creatures moved. It lifted its head slowly and looked at Danny. Its eyes were gold with black centers. They looked intelligent, afraid, hurt. The other creature did not move. Danny saw blood. It was not red like human blood. It was gold, and it glowed faintly in the dark. A large piece of metal was stuck in the creature's side. The wound was deep. Danny's first thought was to run. These things were massive. They could kill him with one swipe of their claws. He should get back in his truck and drive away. He should call someone. The military. The government, anyone. But he did not run. He looked at the creature watching him. He saw the fear in its eyes. He saw the pain. This was not a monster. This was a living thing that was hurt and scared. Danny took a step forward. The creature did not attack. It just watched him. He took another step. Then another. Soon he was standing right next to the wounded one. Up close, he could see how bad the damage was. The wing membrane was torn. Golden blood soaked the sand. The metal shard in its side was as big as his arm. Danny put down his bag and opened it. He pulled out his medical kit. It was made for humans, not giant alien dragons, but he would make it work. He always made things work. He looked at the watching creature. It had not moved. It just kept its golden eyes on him. Danny pointed at the wounded one. Then he pointed at himself. Then he made a gesture like he was pulling something out. The watching creature seemed to understand. It lowered its head slightly. It was permission. Danny got to work. He had never done surgery on anything bigger than a dog. But metal was metal. Wounds were wounds. Blood was blood, even if it was gold. He cleaned the area around the shard. He used his plasma cutter at low power to cut away the twisted metal around the wound. He was careful. So careful, the wounded creature made a low sound, pain, but it did not move. It did not fight him. Danny gripped the metal shard with both hands. He counted to 3 in his head. Then he pulled. The shard came out with a wet sound. Golden blood poured from the wound. Danny grabbed the cauterizer from his kit. It was meant for small cuts, not holes this big. But he used it anyway. He sealed the wound piece by piece. It took a long time. His arms hurt. Sweat ran down his face. When he finished, he moved to the wing. The tear was almost 3 feet long. Danny did not have anything big enough to stitch it properly. He went back to his truck and found his industrial wire. It was strong. It would hold. He stitched the wing slowly. The creature's scales were tough, but the membrane was soft. He worked through the night. The stars moved overhead. The fire from the crash slowly died. By the time the sun started to rise, Danny was done. Both creatures were still alive. Their breathing was slow and steady. The wounds were closed. It was not perfect work, but it was good enough. Danny sat down on the sand. He was exhausted. His hands were covered in golden blood. His tools were scattered around him. He looked at the 2 creatures. They were sleeping now. Their scales caught the early morning light and shimmered like jewels. Danny did not know what they were. He did not know where they came from. He did not know what would happen when they woke up, but he had saved them. That was enough for now. He pulled out his water bottle and took a long drink. Then he started planning. He could not leave them here. Someone would find them. The military, scientists, people who would cut them open and study them. Danny looked at his truck. It was not big enough. But his garage had a cargo crane. He could come back with that. He could move them. He could hide them. He did not know why he wanted to protect them. He just knew that he did. Danny got in his truck and drove home. He had a lot of work to do. Danny returned to the crash site with his cargo crane before the sun was fully up. He worked fast. He wrapped cables around the 2 creatures and lifted them onto his largest trailer. They were heavy, much heavier than they looked. The crane groaned under their weight, but it held. He covered them with old tarps and drove slowly back to his garage. The trip took almost 2 hours. He kept checking his mirrors to make sure no one was following. The desert roads were empty. No one came out here this early. His garage had an underground section. Danny had built it years ago to store valuable salvage away from thieves and sandstorms. It was large enough to hold both creatures if they stayed close together. He used the crane to lower them through the big doors and onto the concrete floor. Then he closed the doors and sat down to wait. The larger creature woke first. Danny was sitting in a chair nearby, drinking coffee. He had not slept. He was too nervous, too curious. The creature opened its golden eyes. It looked around the underground space. Then it looked at Danny. It did not seem afraid anymore. It seemed calm, alert. Danny put down his coffee and stood up slowly. He held his hands out to show he was not holding anything dangerous. The creature watched him for a long moment. Then something strange happened. Danny heard a voice in his head. It was not like hearing someone talk. It was different. The words formed directly in his mind. Clear and strong, you saved us. Why? Danny blinked. He looked at the creature. Its mouth had not moved. But he knew the voice came from it. He thought about running. He thought about screaming. He thought about a lot of things. But instead he just answered, you were hurt. I fix things. That is what I do. The creature tilted its head. It seemed surprised by his answer. You are not afraid of us? Danny shrugged. I was a little. But fear does not help anyone. You needed help. I helped. The second creature stirred. Danny watched as it lifted its head. It was smaller than the first one. Its scales had more patterns, more detail. Its eyes were the same gold, but with flecks of silver in them. She looked at Danny. Then she looked at the larger creature. They seemed to communicate silently for a moment. Then the smaller one turned back to Danny. Thank you. Her voice in his mind was softer, warmer. You risked yourself to save strangers. That is rare. Danny did not know what to say. He just nodded. The larger creature rose slowly to its feet. Even in the underground space, it was massive. Its head nearly touched the ceiling. Danny took a small step back without meaning to. I am Kaylin, the creature said. This is my twin sister, Lyris. We are Driet Hari. Danny repeated the word out loud. Driet Hari. Yes, we are a species that has traveled between stars for 10,000 years. We have seen many worlds. Many peoples. Danny looked at both of them. They were magnificent, terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Their scales shimmered even in the dim light of the underground space. What happened to you? Danny asked. Why did you crash? Lyris lowered her head. Her eyes were sad. We were attacked. By our own kind? Kaylin moved closer to his sister. He pressed his head against hers for a moment. A gesture of comfort. Our people are divided, Kaylin explained. There are those who believe we should live in peace with other species. And there are those who believe we should rule over them. Control them. Danny understood. War. Every species had it. Even humans had been fighting each other since the beginning of time. The ones who attacked us are called the Purge faction, Lyris said. They want to destroy us. They believe we are a threat to their plans. Why would they think that? Danny asked. Kaylin and Lyris exchanged a look. They seemed to be deciding whether to tell him something. There is a prophecy, Kaylin said finally. An ancient prophecy that speaks of twin dragons who will unite our people and end the war. Many believe that Lyris and I are those twins. So they want to kill you before you can do that, Danny said. He understood power. He understood fear. The people in charge never wanted to give up what they had. Yes, Lyris said. They have been hunting us since we were born. Our parents hid us, protected us. But 3 days ago, they found our ship. We escaped, but our vessel was destroyed in the fight. Danny looked at the wreckage outside. He had seen the damage. Those were weapon marks, not accident damage. Can you contact your people? He asked. The ones who want peace? Lyris shook her head. Our communication crystal was destroyed in the crash. Without it, we cannot reach anyone. She moved her wings slightly. Something fell from beneath it. A device. It was strange looking. Crystal and metal twisted together. Parts of it were cracked. Parts of it were dark when they should have been glowing. Danny walked over and picked it up. It was warm in his hands. He turned it over, looking at every angle. He saw the broken pieces, the disconnected parts, the shattered crystal at the center. It was alien technology. Nothing he had ever seen before, but the basics were familiar. Energy moved through wires and conduits. Signals needed amplifiers and transmitters. Crystals could hold and focus power. The materials were different, but the ideas were the same. Danny looked at Kaylin and Lyris. They were watching him closely. I might be able to fix this, he said. Both dragons stared at him. Their shock was clear even without words. That is impossible, Kaylin said. Human technology is thousands of years behind ours. No offense. Danny smiled slightly. None taken. But I have been fixing things my whole life. Everything that breaks follows the same rules. Energy, connection, flow. I do not need to understand all your technology. I just need to understand what is broken. He pointed at the device. This is a transmitter. That much is obvious. The crystal focuses the signal. These lines carry the power. This part amplifies the output. I can see where the breaks are. I can see what needs to be reconnected. Lyris moved closer to him. Her massive head was inches from his face. He could feel the heat from her breath. You truly believe you can fix it? Danny met her eyes. He saw hope there, desperation. These were children running from killers. They needed help. I can try, he said. That is all I can promise. I will try. Lyris pulled back. She looked at her brother. Something passed between them. Then Kalen lowered his head in a gesture of respect. We have met many species across the stars, he said. We have never met one like you, Danny Cole. Danny shrugged and carried the device to his workbench. He laid it down carefully and turned on his lights. He pulled out his tools, his magnifiers, his soldering equipment. This is just another broken machine, he told himself. Just another problem to solve, but deep down, he knew this was different. This was bigger than anything he had ever done before. Behind him, Kalen and Lyris settled down to rest. Their wounds were still healing. They needed sleep. Danny worked through the day. He took the device apart piece by piece. He mapped every connection. He studied every component. Some parts he understood immediately. Others took hours of staring and thinking. By evening, he had a plan. It would not be easy. Some parts needed materials he did not have. He would need to build replacements, create new connections, adapt human technology to work with alien systems, but it was possible. He was sure of it. Danny looked at the sleeping dragons. They trusted him. They had no one else. He would not let them down. 3 days passed. Danny barely slept. He worked on the communication device every waking hour. His workbench was covered with parts. Alien crystals sat next to human wires. Strange metal components connected to circuits he had pulled from old military equipment. Kalen and Lyris healed fast. Much faster than any human would. By the second day, Kalen could move without pain. By the third day, Lyris could stretch her repaired wing. The stitches held. The wounds closed. Their golden blood had powerful healing properties. While Danny worked, they talked. The dragons told him about their world, their history, their culture. The Drethari had been traveling through space for 10,000 years. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had watched species destroy themselves and species reach for the stars. They remembered everything. Their minds could hold thousands of years of memories without forgetting a single detail. They had first visited Earth 500 years ago. A scouting ship had come to study the primitive humans who lived there. What they found surprised them. Humans were violent, Kalen said. He was lying on the floor of the underground space, his head resting on his front legs. They fought constantly. Over land, over beliefs, over things that did not matter. Danny nodded. He could not argue with that. But there was something else, Lyris added. She was sitting closer to Danny now. She liked to watch him work. Something we did not expect. What? Danny asked. He was soldering a connection between two different types of metal. The spark lit up his face briefly. Kindness, Lyris said. Random, unexplainable kindness. Humans would help strangers for no reason. They would risk their own lives to save others. They would share food when they were hungry. They would protect the weak even when it cost them. Danny shrugged. Some of us do. Not all. That is exactly it, Kalen said. He lifted his head slightly. No species we have ever encountered shows that behavior. Other species are kind to their family, their tribe, their nation. But humans will help anyone. Even enemies. Even creatures they have never seen before, like me helping you, Danny said quietly. Yes, Lyris said. Exactly like that. Danny finished the connection and set down his tools. He looked at the device. It was almost done. A few more hours of work. Maybe less. Why are you telling me this? He asked. The twins were silent for a moment. Then Lyris rose and walked toward him. Her steps were graceful despite her size. She stopped right in front of his workbench and lowered her head until her eyes were level with his. Because there is something else we must tell you, she said. Something we were forbidden to share with any outsider. A secret that our elders have kept for centuries. Danny felt his heart beat faster. He did not look away from her eyes. Go on, he said. Kalen spoke from behind his sister. 300 years ago, one of our kind crashed on Earth. He was wounded, dying. He landed in the ocean near a small fishing village. A human found him. Lyris continued. A fisherman. The man was old and poor. He had no reason to help a strange creature from the sky. But he did. He hid the Drethari in a sea cave. He brought food and medicine. He kept the secret from everyone, even his own family. What happened? Danny asked. The Drethery survived. He was rescued by his people 3 weeks later. When he returned home, he told the council what the human had done. They did not believe him at first. They thought the human must have wanted something, gold, power, knowledge, but he wanted nothing, Lyra said. He never asked for anything. When the Drethery offered him a reward, the fisherman refused. He said he had done what anyone would do. Danny understood. He had felt the same way when he found Kaelin and Lyris. He never thought about rewards. He just saw creatures that needed help. That fisherman changed everything, Kaelin said. He stood and walked to stand beside his sister. The council began to watch Earth more closely. They studied humans. They tried to understand this strange behavior, and what did they find? Danny asked. They found something they had never seen before, Lyra said. Her voice in his mind was heavy with meaning. They call it the quiet fire. A spark inside humans that drives them to help others without reason, without expectation, without logic. Danny did not know what to say. He had never thought of himself as special. He was just a mechanic who fixed broken things. Our elders believe that humans are the only species in the galaxy with this quality, Kaelin said. Other species have kindness, but it is always conditional, always limited. Human kindness is different. It burns without fuel. It gives without taking. Danny shook his head slowly. That cannot be true. We are terrible to each other half the time. Wars, cruelty, greed. We have all of that too. Yes, Lyris agreed. But you also have the quiet fire. Both exist inside you at the same time. That is what makes you unique. That is what makes you dangerous. Dangerous. Danny frowned. Dangerous to those who want to control the galaxy, Kaelin said. If other species knew what humans could become, they would try to destroy you, or enslave you, or use you as weapons. Danny felt a chill run down his spine. Is that why you are telling me this? Yes, Lyris said. For 300 years, the Drethery have protected Earth. We have turned away invasion fleets. We have hidden your world from predators. We have kept your species safe while you grew stronger. Danny stared at them. He could not believe what he was hearing. All of human history. All of their struggles and triumphs. And somewhere out in the darkness, alien dragons had been watching over them like guardians. Why? He asked. Why would you do that for us? Because of the quiet fire, Kaelin said. Because twice now, humans have saved Drethery lives without asking for anything in return? Because our elders believe that one day, humans will change the galaxy. And we want to be there when it happens. Danny looked at the device on his workbench. It was almost finished. A few more connections and it would work. He could call for help. The twins could go home. But now he understood why they had been afraid to tell him. This secret was not just about them. It was about all of humanity. If the wrong people found out about the quiet fire, they would hunt humans. Study them. Try to copy them. Or destroy them. You need me to keep this secret, Danny said. Yes, Lyra said. We are sorry to ask this of you. But we have no choice. Danny was quiet for a long time. He thought about everything they had told him. About the fisherman who saved a dying dragon. About the council who watched over Earth. About the quiet fire that burned inside humans without them even knowing it. Then he picked up his tools and went back to work. I do not need to keep a secret, he said, because I do not see anything worth telling. I'm just a mechanic who fixed a broken radio. That is all anyone needs to know. Kaelin and Lyris watched him. He could feel their gratitude without words. Thank you, Lyris said softly. Danny did not answer. He just kept working. 2 hours later, the device hummed to life. The crystal glowed bright blue. Energy flowed through the repaired connections. The transmitter was working. Lyris pressed her forehead to the crystal and closed her eyes. She was sending a message. Calling for help. Danny stepped back and watched. He had done his part. Now, all they could do was wait, but something told him that the waiting would not last long. And when it ended, everything would change. Danny woke to the sound of alarms. He had fallen asleep at his workbench. His head rested on his arms. His tools were scattered around him. The communication device sat nearby, still glowing softly. The alarms were from his perimeter sensors. Something had crossed into his territory. Something big. Danny jumped up and ran to his monitoring station. He had cameras all around his property. They showed him everything within 5 miles. What he saw made his blood run cold. 3 ships hung in the sky. They were not like the wreckage he had found. These were intact. Deadly, they moved slowly toward his garage. Like predators stalking prey, Kalen and Lyris were already awake. They stood in the center of the underground space. Their bodies were tense. Their eyes were focused on the ceiling as if they could see through it. "They found us," Kalen said. His voice in Danny's mind was grim. "Who?" Danny asked. But he already knew the answer. "Vager," Lyris said. Her voice was shaking. "He is the leader of the Purge faction. He is also our uncle." Danny looked at her. "Your uncle?" "Our mother's brother," Kalen explained. "He was once a great warrior who fought for peace. But power corrupted him. He believes the strong should rule the weak. He believes the prophecy will destroy everything he has built." The ships were landing now. Danny watched on his screens as they touched down half a mile from his garage. Clouds of sand rose around them. Then the doors opened. The HFY warriors emerged. A dozen of them. They were smaller than Kalen and Lyris, but they moved with deadly purpose. Their scales were dark, black and red and gray. They wore armor that covered their chests and heads. They carried weapons that glowed with strange energy. At the center of the group stood the largest one. His scales were pure black. A long scar ran across his face, cutting through one eye that now glowed white instead of gold. He moved with the confidence of someone who had never been defeated. "Vager," Lyris whispered. Danny watched the warriors begin to march toward his property. They would be here in 20 minutes. Maybe less. He turned to the twins. "You need to run." "I will slow them down." Kalen shook his head. "We will not leave you to die. This is not your fight," Lyris added. "We brought this danger to you. We will face it ourselves." He looked at her. Then he looked at Kalen. They were young, brave, ready to sacrifice themselves for him. He was not going to let that happen. "Listen to me," he said. His voice was firm. "You told me about the quiet fire. The thing that makes humans different. Well, this is what it looks like. I'm going to help you whether you want me to or not." Lyris stared at him. "You cannot fight Drethari warriors. You have no weapons that can hurt us." Danny smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who had a plan. "I do not need to hurt them," he said. "I just need to stop them. And I am very good at stopping things." He turned and ran up the stairs to his main garage. The twins followed him. Danny's garage was full of machines. Broken drones. Old trucks. Salvaged equipment. Pieces of military hardware that had fallen out of the sky. Most of it was junk. But in the hands of a mechanic, junk could become anything. Danny moved fast. Faster than he had ever moved before. He grabbed his plasma cutters, his welding equipment, his power cells, his electromagnetic generators. Everything he had collected over 15 years. "What are you doing?" Kalen asked. "Building traps," Danny said without stopping. "Your friends out there think they are walking into a fight, but they are walking into my home. And nobody knows this place better than me," he pointed at the twins. "I need you to stay underground until I call for you. When the time comes, you will know what to do." Lyris hesitated. "And if your traps do not work?" Danny looked at her. "Then we fight together." Something passed between them. Understanding, trust, respect. The twins went back underground. Danny got to work. 18 minutes. That was all the time he had. 18 minutes to turn his garage into a death trap. He started with the perimeter. He buried power cells in the sand at the edge of his property. He connected them to pressure plates made from old drone parts. When someone stepped on them, the cells would discharge. Enough electricity to stun even a HFY. He rigged his plasma cutters to motion sensors. He hid them behind piles of junk, behind old machines, inside broken vehicles. Each one was aimed at a kill zone, a spot where the warriors would have to pass through. Then came the cargo crane. Danny climbed into the control booth and rewired the whole system. He turned it into an electromagnetic pulse launcher. One shot would disable any electronic equipment. Within 100 feet, weapons, armor, communications, everything would go dark. Finally, he went to his truck. The old hover truck he had built himself. He opened the engine compartment and pulled out the main power core. It was a military-grade fusion cell, strong enough to power a small city for a week, strong enough to explode like a bomb if he overloaded it. He set the cell at the entrance to his underground space. If everything else failed, this would be his last option. He did not want to use it, but he would if he had to. Danny looked around at his work. His hands were cut and burned. His body ached. But he was ready. Just in time, the first warriors crossed his perimeter. The power cells discharged. Blue lightning arced through the air. 2 Dretheri fell, stunned and twitching. The others scattered. They moved faster now. More careful. They knew someone was fighting back. Danny watched from his control booth. His fingers hovered over the buttons that would trigger his traps. One warrior moved toward the east side of the garage. Danny pressed a button. A plasma cutter fired. The warrior screamed as the beam cut across its armor. Another warrior tried to flank from the west. Motion sensor. Another plasma cutter. Another hit, but there were too many of them. They kept coming, adapting, learning. Vager did not even slow down. He walked straight through the chaos. Traps fired at him, and he dodged them without effort. He was old, experienced, deadly. Danny fired the EMP. The pulse wave rippled outward. Lights flickered. Machines sparked and died. The warriors' weapons went dark. Their armor stopped glowing, but Vager kept walking. He was not using any technology. He did not need it. Danny grabbed the only weapon he had left. A plasma cutter, still connected to its power cable. It would not kill a Dretheri, but it might slow one down. He stepped out of the control booth. Vagor stood in the middle of the yard. His warriors were scattered around him. Some stunned, some wounded, all disabled, but Vager was untouched. He looked at Danny with his one golden eye and his one white eye. His scarred face twisted into something that might have been a smile. Human, Vager said. His voice was like grinding stones. You have courage. I will give you that. Danny held up the plasma cutter. Its blue flame flickered in the darkness. I have more than courage, he said. I have family to protect, Vager laughed. It was a terrible sound. Family? Those 2 hatchlings? They are nothing. They are a threat to everything I have built. And you are less than nothing. A fragile, short-lived insect. How dare you interfere in the affairs of gods? Danny did not answer. He did not need to, because behind Vager, the ground was beginning to shake. Fiel, Ian, and Lyris were coming. The ground split open behind Vager. Kalen and Lyris erupted from below like volcanoes. Their scales blazed with light. Their eyes burned with power. Vager turned to face them. His smile faded. For the first time, Danny saw something like fear in the old dragon's eyes. Nephew, niece, Vager's voice was cold. You have grown strong, but not strong enough. He lunged at them. His claws sliced through the air like blades. His movements were fast, brutal, practiced, but Kalen and Lyris moved together. They dodged his attack and struck back as one. Kalen hit him from the left. Lyris hit him from the right. Their coordination was perfect. It was like they shared the same mind. Vager stumbled. Golden blood dripped from wounds on his side. The twins, Danny thought. The prophecy spoke of twins who fought as one, but Vager was not finished. He roared and released a blast of energy from his mouth. Blue fire streaked toward the twins. They split apart to avoid it. That was what Vager wanted. He attacked Lyris while she was alone. His claws caught her wing. The repaired membrane tore. She screamed in pain. Kalen roared and charged at his uncle. But Vager was ready. He caught Kalen by the throat and slammed him into the ground. You are children, Vager snarled. Playing at being warriors. You do not understand power. You do not understand sacrifice. He raised his claw to strike Kellen's head. Danny did not think. He just acted. He ran at Vager and pressed the plasma cutter against the dragon's leg. The blue flame burned through scales and into flesh. Vager howled and released Kalen. He spun toward Danny. For a moment they faced each other. The giant dragon and the small human. The predator and the prey. Vager's white eye glowed with rage. "Insect," he hissed. "You dare touch me?" He swung his claw at Danny. Danny jumped back, but he was too slow. The claw caught his shoulder and sent him flying through the air. He crashed into a pile of old machines. Pain exploded through his body. He felt ribs crack. Blood filled his mouth. He tried to stand, but his legs would not work. Vager walked toward him. Each step shook the ground. The dragon loomed over Danny like death itself. "I was going to kill you quickly," Vager said. "But now I will make you suffer. I will tear you apart piece by piece, and I will make them watch." Danny looked up at Vager. His vision was blurry. His body was broken. But he was not afraid. "You talk too much," Danny said. His voice was weak but steady. "You know what your problem is? You think being big makes you strong? But it does not. Being strong means standing up even when you know you cannot win." Vager laughed. Wise words from a dying creature. "Tell me, human, what did you hope to achieve? Did you think you could save them? Did you think you could stop me?" Danny smiled through the blood on his lips. "I did not need to stop you. I just needed to slow you down." Vager frowned. "What?" Behind him, Kalen and Lyris rose to their feet. They stood side by side. Their wounds were bleeding. Their bodies were tired. But something was different about them now. Their scales were glowing brighter than before. Their eyes were filled with light, the quiet fire, Lyris said. Her voice was strange, powerful, echoing. "We finally understand." Kalen nodded. "The prophecy was not about defeating you with strength, Uncle. It was about learning what true strength means." Vager turned to face them. His confidence was cracking. "What are you talking about?" "Danny taught us," Lyris said. She looked at the broken human lying in the dirt. "He taught us that power is not about ruling others. It is about protecting them, lifting them up, fighting for them even when there is no hope of winning." Kalen stepped forward. "That is the quiet fire. That is what humans have that no other species possesses. And now we have it too. Because of him." The twins joined hands. Or rather, they pressed their claws together. Light began to build between them. It was blinding. It was beautiful. It was like a star being born. Vager backed away. "No, this is impossible." "You are just children." "We were children," Lyris said. "But we grew up." They released the light. It struck Vager like a wave. He screamed. His body was lifted off the ground and thrown backward. He crashed into the sand and did not move. The light faded. The desert was quiet. Kalen and Lyris ran to Danny. They lowered their heads to his level. Their eyes were full of tears. "Danny," Lyris said. "Stay with us. Help is coming." Danny tried to speak, but no words came out. His vision was getting darker. He could feel himself slipping away. Then he heard something. A low hum. Getting louder, he looked up and saw ships descending from the sky. Not 3 ships this time. Dozens of them, hundreds. They filled the horizon like a storm of metal and light. "The Council Fleet," Kalen said. "They received our message. They are here." The largest ship landed near the garage. Its doors opened and a magnificent dragon emerged. She was bigger than Vager. Her scales were silver and white. Her eyes were ancient and wise. "Mother," Lyris breathed. The silver dragon walked toward them. Her gaze moved from her children to the unconscious Vager to the broken human lying in the sand. She stopped. In front of Danny, she lowered her great head until her eyes were inches from his. "You saved my children," she said. Her voice was soft, warm. "You stood against the hunters. You risked your life for beings you did not know." Danny tried to answer, but he could barely breathe. The dragon, whose name was Seraphes, touched her forehead to his. Life flowed from her into him. Danny felt the pain fade. He felt his bones knitting together. He felt strength returning to his body. When she pulled away, he was healed. Completely healed. Not even a scar remained. Danny sat up slowly. He looked at his hands. They were clean, whole. He touched his ribs. No pain. How? He asked. Seraphis smiled. The Drethari have many gifts, but we rarely share them with outsiders. You have earned this. She turned to address everyone. Her warriors. Her children. The defeated Vagar who was now being bound in chains of light. This human has proven what we have long suspected, she said. Her voice carried across the desert. Humanity is not a lesser species to be protected. They are our equals. Perhaps in some ways our betters. She looked back at Danny. The quiet fire burns in them. In this one more than most. We have been watching over humanity for centuries. But from this day forward, we do so not as guardians watching over children. We do so as allies. As friends, the warriors lowered their heads in respect. Even the ones who had tried to kill Danny just minutes ago. Kaelin and Lyris approached. Danny, they pressed their foreheads to his, one on each side. The gesture of profound respect among their kind. The secret we asked you to keep, Lyris said softly, was not about our prophecy or our war. It was about what you represent. If the galaxy knew that humans possessed the quiet fire, every empire in existence would seek to control or destroy your world. We will continue to protect you, Kaelin added. But now we do it as friends. As brothers in spirit. Danny did not know what to say. He was just a mechanic from the desert. He fixed broken things. He did not ask for any of this, but sometimes he realized the universe did not care what you asked for. Sometimes it just gave you what you needed. Seraphis began to organize her warriors. Vagar was taken aboard one of the ships. He would face justice for his crimes. The Purge faction was broken. The civil war would end. The twins looked at Danny one last time. We will return, Lyris promised. And when we do, perhaps you will help us build something new. Something better. Danny nodded. I would like that. The dragons boarded their ships. One by one, the vessels rose into the sky. The sun was rising now. Golden light spread across the desert. The ships caught the light and shimmered like stars. Danny watched until the last ship disappeared into the blue sky. Then he turned and walked back to his garage. There was a lot of damage. Broken machines. Destroyed equipment. His cargo crane was in pieces. His power cells were drained, but Danny was a mechanic. He fixed things. That was what he did. He picked up a wrench and got to work. The desert was quiet again. The wind blew sand across the yard. The sun climbed higher into the sky, but for the first time in 15 years, Danny Cole did not feel alone. He had friends out there among the stars. He had a purpose beyond fixing old machines, and somewhere deep inside him, the quiet fire burned a little brighter than before. He smiled and kept working. There was always work to be done.